everyone. I'm Daniel. I'm a first year undergraduate going into my second year, and I'm studying at UCL and I'm studying economics with a year abroad. So I'm looking to do my year abroad, hopefully in the Southern Hemisphere around Australia or New Zealand. So if those of you have any questions about kind of year abroad applications and the program, and whether you think it's worth it, I know I haven't gone on it yet, but I have quite strong opinions about it. So you're more than welcome to ask them in the chat. And yes, I'm currently in South Korea right now, and I'm teaching children English and maths in Seoul. So yeah, that's been pretty fun. But yeah, I've kind of done a basic introduction, but where I'm from South India, a place called Chennai, which is in the southern state of India called Tamil Nadu. And I'm lived in the UK. I was born in the UK, so I've lived in the UK all 19 years. And for the past nine or 10 years, I've lived in Leicester. So yeah, I'm a Leicester City fan. So yeah, I thought I would kind of talk about what it's actually like to study economics at university, because if any of you are doing A-level economics, you're probably thinking, oh, okay, it's probably just the exact same at university. But no, 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 you are wrong. I found this sort of the hard way. When I joined university, I didn't expect the level of maths there would be. I knew there would be a lot of maths, but I didn't expect it to be so much. An example was in my first year, which I've just completed, three out of my four compulsory modules were literally just maths. And one of my modules, which was not maths, was still had a lot of mathematical elements to it. So the key thing I think you guys should take from today, if you are considering studying economics at university, is that it's very different to A-level economics. And I know if you have enjoyed A-level economics and you're like, oh, university should be the same, yeah, take that with a pinch of salt and kind of just make sure that you know that there is going to be a lot of maths. My first year, I did, so these are my compulsory modules. I had one economics module, which was the non-mathematical module, and the three were applied economics, which is statistics and using some coding software to kind of apply economic modules. Statistical methods in economics, which is basically just stats, something you would have learned in A-level maths if you did statistics, and then mathematics for economics, which is just maths. I had the opportunity to take two modules. One was in my economics department, and the other one was outside of my economics department. So the one in my economics department, that was the world economy. And that was really interesting. It was more about the history and how history is really important to learn about economic models and how we need to make decisions nowadays based on how history has shown us that if we make a decision like they've done in history, like during the Great Depression, we might end up in the same situation. So the world economy was really interesting. And then the other module I did, that was the introduction to business and social psychology, which looks at how consumer decisions work and how consumer make their decisions and how they behave as a result of certain things and how this affects the economy. And this kind of links into behavioral economics, which is a very sort of new thing in the last, I would say, 50 years. It's kind of been more introduced into curriculums and course structures. And it's just essentially seeing that humans, we basically make sometimes just random decisions. We don't make decisions that maximize our utility or maximize our welfare or our benefit. So yeah, I think as you go across the years, so into year two and year three, I'm pretty sure this is very similar for the other universities as it is with UCL. You kind of have more leniency with the compulsory and optional modules, in that sense that with the optional modules you can pick more and the compulsory modules you have fewer. So next year I only have three compulsory modules and I have two optional modules, and then the year after in year three, which will be after my year abroad actually, that will be all of them are optional modules. So I'm quite excited for that. Oh wait, yeah. So kind of what are universities looking for? There's quite a few things, and I thought I would like kind of talk about some of them here. So one of the most important things I kind of noticed when I was writing my personal statement and doing a lot of research about different universities and what economics is like to study at these universities is they really want to see that you can have good logical thinking and really, really good quantitative skills. I'll come on this next in the next few slides about the quantitative skills. But basically you just want to show that you have good math skills, you're able to do good problem solving, you're able to demonstrate your mathematical reasoning, and they want to see that you have done like maths outside of the curriculum, so outside of your A-level curriculum. So that could be in maths challenges. Have you ever taken a maths online course called MOOCs, which are known as massive open online courses? Have you done really well in certain exams? Or have you sat A-level maths in year 12 rather than in year 13, which some further math students may do, as I did. And then another thing is they want to see that you're able to explain your experiences and how your experiences have helped you. And they want to see that you have good problem solving skills, as I mentioned. So, for example, I would use the STAR technique, which is basically situation, task, action, and result. So, when I mean situation, they're like set the scene. What's happening right now in this situation? How are you going to, what's in this scene? For example, in a work experience, the person I'm shadowing, he's given me something, he's given me a project that I need to work on. That's the scene. The task is what actually has he given me? What do I need to work on? Maybe that is to do an Excel modeling for him. And then what is that action I took? How did I implement this? How did I how in this work experience example, how did I use my skills and my knowledge to make sure that this Excel spreadsheet or this Excel modeling spreadsheet was the best work I could have done? And what was the result of this? Did the boss really like it, or did it increase leads in a sale, or did it increase more sales, or did it lead me, if I'm reading a book, did it lead me to learn more about a different podcast or learn more about a different topic and maybe do some work experience? So I used the star quite a bit. When I did it, it took me quite a while to get my head around the star technique and how to use it. But one thing I would say is star technique is really, really helpful when it comes to interviews and kind of more applications as you go through your undergraduate years, especially in second and third year when you're applying for summer internships and graduate schemes. So it's really useful to get into the habit of using the star technique in year 12 and year 13 for those. So another thing they want to see is independent thinking. So are you able to do stuff outside of the school curriculum without your teachers telling you to do so? For example, do you go to lectures by yourself? Do you do online courses by yourself? Do you listen to podcasts, watch YouTubes, and make notes about them, and maybe do presentations in your economic society by yourself? All of this shows your independence and your independent thinking. You're going outside of the school curriculum. So one example is I self-studied further statistics one. I knew I wanted to study economics at A level. I knew there was going to be a lot of statistics. I decided to just self-study further statistics because my school didn't offer that as one of my modules. And that shows that I did it all by myself, that I'm independent thinking. I have the independence, which will be really helpful when I go to university. A big difference between university and year 13 and year 12 and just school in general is you get a lot more independence. You won't be kind of the teacher won't tell you what to do essentially all the time. You have to rely on your ability a lot of the time. You have to be independent. So getting into that, getting used to that in year 12 and year 13 is also really important. Another thing, good communication skills, which is obviously essential. That can come from extracurriculars, your supercurriculars. Have you participated in societies in your school? Are you a prefect, or are you like a student support leader? Do you mentor children, etc.? And then they want to see your intellectual curiosity, especially about the subject. Obviously, you're applying to the subject. So they want to see when you mentioned a book, explain what you learned from this book and what was the result that this book led you to do. Why did reading this book lead you to read more about this certain topic? Why did reading this book lead you to undertake work experience at this accounting firm, for example? And then obviously self-motivation and hard work, but hopefully all of you have that as you're all on this call, on this education conference. So as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned a little bit about mathematics and how rigorous most courses are in maths and how much maths there is in most economics courses. So I thought I would briefly touch on LSE, UCL, Imperial, Cambridge, Warwick, and maybe a few others. Essentially, the main thing you should take away from this slide is just show your mathematical ability, whether that be with maths challenges, online courses, as I mentioned earlier, MOOCs. I did an online course, whether you've watched YouTube videos. There's I mentioned here, the Oxford University MAT revision live stream, whether you've completed in a MATLAB competition. And essentially, you want to show that you're just really good at maths for these universities. If you're not able to show it in your personal statement, I would recommend getting your teacher referee, who is going to be your form tutor, your head teacher, your head of sixth form, or your subject specific teacher to write down your passion and your mathematical ability in their reference. So another thing is admissions tests, because when I applied, which was I applied 2 years ago now, it's changed a little bit. For me, the only admissions tests were for Cambridge and Oxford. Now it's changed a little bit. So for LSE economics and econometrics and mathematical and economics, you need to do the TMUA, which is the test of mathematical undergraduate admissions. And then you have to, it's recommended for about 8 or 9 other courses. So if it's recommended, I would say do it if you have time and you don't think it's going to take up like 40 hours a week. If you're able to spare maybe 2 hours a day or 1 to 2 hours a day, I would recommend doing it. But if you're already got so much work and you're stressed about year 13, don't put that pressure on yourself. It's generally not worth it. It's obviously for Cambridge, you need to do TMUA, and now Warwick is a new addition. And for Oxford, there's the TSA. So my advice here was really be strategic with your applications and really prepare for these tests. I would say for TMUA, it's all about preparation. Start preparing from around August, September, because you sit the tests in October, November. I didn't sit them myself, but from the friends who have told me, they were quite hard and you do need to do a lot of preparation. So I would say just make sure to be strategic with your applications. You don't want to apply to maybe too many, or you do, or don't apply to some with such high A-level requirements and also an admissions test, because that puts a lot of stress on you. Next thing, so this is what I've collated from kind of a few unis when I was applying for my universities. I kind of just looked at what they actually were looking for and how did they decide on their students, because everyone is going to be wondering how did they actually decide on their students. So obviously we've got academic achievement, and this includes your predicted grades and your achieved grades. So when I mean achieved grades, that's your GCSE grades, and if you've done maybe an A level or ASL level in year 12, then they want to see your subjects and subject combinations. So when I mean this, they want to see, as I mentioned, my degree is very mathematical, but it still has some elements of essay writing. So they want to see that you have those skills to write essays, you have those skills to think analytically, and you have those skills to communicate your thoughts and put them onto a piece of paper. So I did maths, further maths, chemistry, economics, and I had 3 kind of mathematical, logical thinking and reasoning, mathematical reasoning subjects. Then I had economics, which is more the essay skills subject, more showing my writing off, basically showing that I'm good at writing. And so that was a good subject combination because it shows I have the maths, but I also have the essay writing skills, and that is something to consider. But obviously you guys have picked your A levels, so that's just something to consider when applying to universities. Obviously the next 2 points are probably the 2 most important things when how universities would decide on their students. So obviously we've got the personal statement, which is 4,000 characters, 47 lines, and then we've got the teacher reference, which is most likely going to be, I think, your form tutor, your subject specific teacher, head of sixth form. For me, it was my form tutor who was also my subject specific teacher. This is really crucial. Some universities actually look at a teacher reference before they even look at the personal statement. So it's really crucial to make sure your teacher knows about everything you're doing outside of school. They should know about your mathematical ability. They should know about your extracurriculars and your supercurriculars. Another thing is educational circumstances. Was there a reason you weren't able to get a top predicted grade? Stuff like that. And then the next thing is admissions tests, as I mentioned before. So next slide. What I did to prepare. So I read 1 or 2 influential books. I'm not the biggest of readers, so I kind of decided to put my time and effort into other things rather than reading. I did a few online courses. So one of them was a maths course, which was really interesting, and it actually really helped me with my first term of UCL economics. So I would recommend these online courses. They're called massive open online courses, and you can find quite a few of them on Coursera, and think it's Udemy. And then I achieved maths A level in year 12. I went to a few insight days in bank at the Bank of England and Goldman Sachs. And then one of the really important things I would say is LinkedIn and make the most of it. So you're more than welcome to ask me questions on LinkedIn. But one thing I did from year 12 to year 13 is I started connecting with undergraduates from the universities that I really wanted to study at. And I would connect with them and I would ask them advice on their application and how they went about their application. And the reason I would say this is one of the best ways into see how you're able to structure your application. First of all, they're studying the course. They know what the course is like. Your teachers don't know what the course is like because they're not studying it. Your teachers studied 20 years ago. So they're studying it. So that's really useful. They've also most likely completed their UCAS application only 1 or 2 years ago. So they still have it sort of fresh in their brain and they remember most stuff, or they will have their personal statement or application tips on them. So you can ask them for that. I messaged so many people and everyone was so nice and they all really did help me. I also did a few challenges. So these were like mass challenges. It's the Kangaroo and the UK MT. And then I did a few things for my school, like presented at my econ society. And I also kind of created this economics kind of education brand to help students with econ A level. Um, so moving on from there, what I did to prepare, what I actually put in my personal statement, a lot of the stuff I mentioned there, I actually didn't have enough space because you only have 47 lines. So make use and make sure you're actually putting relevant stuff in your personal statement. I would say 85% should be academic and 15% should be extracurricular, or you could do 80% academic and 20% extracurricular. So I read the book Predictably Irrational, which was behavioral economics. I linked that to social media statistics, which I really liked, and I kind of just showed my passion for behavioral economics. From there, I linked it to my mathematical ability and my passion for maths, because there's a lot of maths in behavioral economics. So I showed my passion for maths by showing that I've done the maths challenges, that I've taken part in maths online courses. And as I mentioned earlier, the online course was actually really helpful for my first term of studies. I also did some work experience at an accounting firm. And obviously I mentioned I did some insight days. And then I played for my extracurriculars, I played hockey. I also played piano and I was a finalist in this competition. So if you're not able to fit anything in your personal statement, I would recommend trying to put it in your teacher reference. So if you have the chance, try sit down with your teacher for half an hour and jot down everything you've done and see where you could put the stuff that you're not able to put in your personal statement. See if it could fit in your teacher's reference, because this is really, really crucial. As I mentioned, a lot of unis do look at this before the personal statement. So next slide. This is quite important. When I mean with crafting your personal statement, please say, please show what you've done rather than tell what you've done. So what I mean by that is show your passion for maths rather than say, oh yeah, I just like maths. It's really interesting. Show why you like maths. What is it that you've done about maths? You've done an online course. As a result, you learned about mathematical and economics and how calculus is used in economics. This led you to study more about behavioral economics and see how the curves work with these concepts that you've just learned. So as I mentioned on the slides, instead of just stating your views, you want to explain why you hold those views. So if you disagree with a book, a very famous book such as The Wealth of Nations, mention relevant podcasts or essays or articles that influenced your perspective to disagree with this very, very famous book. Make sure your personal statement flows from the very beginning, the introduction, all the way to the end, and it kind of creates like a story and a flow. And then one thing I really see is a common mistake that I see in a lot of personal statements is that many students will sort of list their books and write it as an essay and kind of describe the book. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd more recommend showing your opinions about the book or article you've read and showing why you disagree or agree with a certain concept in this book. Because remember, the admissions tutors are going to be so knowledgeable in this subject. They're going to know all these books off by heart. They don't want to see the same thing over and over again, that you're just listing and describing the book. They want to see you think outside of the box and be like, oh, hold on, why is he questioning it like that? maybe he's come up with a different point, and that's really interesting to see. Remember, you don't have to be right or wrong. They just want to see your thought process. And I think that is really important to get across in your personal statement. The fact that you're curious about the subject and you're really interested and just intrigued about the subject, and show that by explaining certain opinions you hold about the subject rather than just describing. Um, all right. The next thing, yeah. So that's done for me. I hopefully haven't run over time. Um, yeah, so if you guys want to message me on LinkedIn, you're more than welcome to. It's just my full name. And if you have any questions, just pop it down in the chat. And yeah, no, I hope this was useful today. Sorry, it was a bit short, and sorry I can't stay longer. It's a bit late here, but I hope this was useful, and I'm more than welcome to answer any questions on LinkedIn or now in the chat. So thank you very much, guys.
Thanks very much, Daniel. That's really, really helpful. A real tour de force, and you're bang on time, actually. So thank you very much for that. So we're going to open up the floor to questions. Neha is going to look after that side of things. So Neha, can I hand over to you, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank
So
you.
we have a few questions. I know the first question is from, apologies if I'm mispronouncing your names, Zoha. I think you have two questions. So you start off unmuting and ask Daniel the first and second question together.
Hi, sorry, I just had to go into another room. I just had two questions. So the first question was, how did you revise for A-level chemistry? And the second question was, which university did you apply for?
Sure. So A-level chemistry was I would say my weakest subject in year 12. I kind of struggled with it quite a lot. And there's I would say the jump from year 11 to year 12 is much smaller than jump from year 12 to year 13. So if you have some time over this summer period, maybe in the last week of August, I would say go over a bit of year 12 chemistry, as it really helps with the start of year 13. Revision wise, I just made sure to understand the content. With A-level chemistry, it was quite important to understand the content, and then I literally just did practice papers. So yeah, sorry that doesn't help that much, but it was mainly just practice questions. Make sure to practice the maths, because the paper I had, they really kind of tried to mess us up with the maths questions, and they kind of it made it really difficult for those who didn't study maths A level. It was very challenging, the maths questions. They assumed you already knew certain stuff from, I would say, GCSE slash maybe AS level maths. So it was a bit unfair, you could argue, but it was in the syllabus. Just people sometimes miss that out. So I'd say focus on just practicing questions, and then I would say focus on maths questions, because that's what I found hard sometimes. And then universities I applied to was UCL, LSE, Leeds, Bristol, St Andrews. And if I was to apply again, like right now, I would apply to 5 London unis, because I can't see myself living somewhere else. And it would be probably LSE, UCL, KCL, Imperial, and probably like Queen Mary's. But I don't know why I applied to 3 non-London unis. I just can't really see myself living there. But yeah, I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
And we have a question from Divine. Divine, if you can put your camera on and unmute, then that would be great.
Hello. My camera also isn't working. I wanted to ask for economics, besides like jobs like I was wondering if there was any niche type of jobs that you can do with the economics degree, because I only know like basic jobs like accountancy and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Econ's quite weird in the sense that you can basically apply to most jobs. So a common thing for a lot of econ undergrads is to do a graduate scheme, or actually a common thing is to do spring weeks in first year, do a summer internship in second year, and then hopefully convert that summer internship into a grad role. And these grad roles will be in stuff like investment banking, asset management, equity, research, consulting. You could even go into marketing. So I would say there's a lot of career options. I would say in your personal statement, try and show your passion for economics rather than your passion for the career. Don't just think that, oh, economics is going to make me a lot of money. Sort of just show your passion for the degree and for the subject, because obviously these admissions tutors don't work in these big companies. They work for the university and they teach these subjects on a day-to-day basis. So they want to see someone who's actually here to learn the subject rather than to just get a high-paying job. And then I would say I would say you can basically go into a lot of fields. For me, I'm quite passionate about entrepreneurship, so I might not even go into a grad scheme when I'm finished university. So it really depends on what you like, and I think you find more about yourself and what you like in first year of university. So I hope that helps. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really informative.
And David, you have a question as well. Yes, so how would you write a personal statement for 2 different courses, for example, PPE or economics?
Okay, thank you. That's actually a really good question. And I'd say straight away from the example you've given, PP and economics, I wouldn't recommend applying to 2 different courses, especially if it's PP and economics. If it's maths and economics or statistics and economics and maybe economics and management, I would. But PPE is very different to economics. Yes, there is economics in the name, but you're forgetting there's philosophy and politics. And writing a personal statement that is tailored to one university where you're applying to a subject that has 3 subjects, philosophy, politics, and economics, and then another university which has pure economics. Both universities, when they're looking at your personal statement, they'll be a bit confused. They're like, does this guy really like economics, or does he really like philosophy and politics? What does he actually want? And you might shoot yourself in the foot there and actually get rejected from both. So I would say really think about why you're applying to the different courses and why the different universities, and why one university you want to do pure econ and why the other one you want to do PPE. But if it's for economics and management, I actually was going to apply for economics and management, but I decided not to because I didn't really want to change my personal statement up that much. I didn't see the point of applying for the management part. But with that, you just need to write, I would say, about 3 to 4 sentences about your passion for management. And if you can, see how you can link management into the economic side of things, because they're 2 subjects that do interlink quite well. The same with maths and economics. I already mentioned I did 1 paragraph of just pure maths in my personal statement. I probably could apply with that personal statement to a maths and econ degree or a stats and econ degree, maybe with 1 or 2 sentences extra in the maths part. So with that, when it's maths and econ, I would say 50-50 should be your personal statement. When it's maths with econ, I would say 75% should be maths and 25% should be economics. But that's something that I've heard, and I didn't apply to joint honors or dual courses, what they're called. I applied to a single course, economics. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Thanks very much, everybody, for asking those questions and making good use of Daniel's time while he's with us. Daniel, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us from the other side of the world and sharing your experience and your advice with everybody. I think people are just saying goodbye to you. And again, thank you very much. And
thank you very much, guys, and great questions. Thank you.
Great to have you with us. Bye.